into the kind of like the okay, here we go. Hi. I wasn't sure. I was like, we're live now.
Yeah. I wanted to let's do a proper introduction and then just continue our conversation, because of course we were just going in already, because that's just what we tend to do when we have awesome guests. We just start diving into conversation and forget that we have a show.
That is so true.
That's the
All
best
right, Ira,
way,
take it away. We're live.
So, everybody, welcome to Black Tech Futures Weekly Chat. Why do I keep forgetting that sometimes? Black Tech Futures Media Weekly Chat. We are here on episode 24. Can you believe it, Jamil?
24.
Every week,
24.
man. 24 weeks.
Strong number.
Since you took me down that rabbit hole of NFTs. We are here joined today by Dr. Lemny Perez. Lem_NY if you are on Instagram. Dr. Lemny if you are on Clubhouse, which is where I met her. Welcome, Dr. Lemny. How you doing?
Hi, Ira. Hello. Thank you for having me, two of you.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Yeah, super
we are
excited
so lucky to have you. You are so, when I listen to you in Clubhouse rooms, and like I was saying earlier, Jamil and I, we were just having this chat with Dr. Lemny to start. And I'm just saying, I'm in a room and then I'll see you're moderating another room, and then I'll jump and hop in that room. And I'm listening to you talk, and I'm loving everything that you're saying, everything that you're talking about in terms of how to help folks understand this NFT, non-fungible token, smart contract space, how art and how people, women, people of color, Black people, brown people, all the people can understand this space and get down with it. Producing your own art, which is amazing. Selling your NFTs, which is awesome to see it and watch it. All the love that you get in the spaces that you're in. I just appreciate being a part of those spaces and listening to you. And I'm so happy. We're both so grateful that you're on this show today. So welcome.
Thank you, Ira and Jamil, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here on, my goodness, what, episode 24, you said? Wow.
That's where we're at. Yep.
Been in a flash. I feel like we just started and we're here already.
I know.
Oh man. So thank you. So Dr. Lemny, so let's take it from the top. You are a doctor. You're a psychologist. You're also a writer. You're a poet. You're a Clubhouse moderator, a very active one, as Ira mentioned, and you're obviously also an NFT artist with some really awesome artwork. May I add? And because of course you sell your stuff, be selling, so it's obviously good. So why don't we start from the beginning? So how did you dive into the world of NFT artists as a psychologist, as someone who practices from what I've seen in your Clubhouse bio, very heavy into meditative practices, spirituality, things of that nature. So yeah, how does that go from there to NFTs? And let's start there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those questions. My goodness, like it's been so dynamic, like the transition into NFTs. Like I was, 25 boots on the ground, 25 years, boots on the ground, doing social work and psychology and just working with folks. And it's taxing, it's heavy work. After that amount of time. And also like, I think that, I was always kind of like an artist. I went into undergrad as kind of like a film major, and it was something that just, went to the back burner. So I focused more on psychology for the next couple of years. And I was like, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore. I was working a lot in juvenile halls and jails and prisons and things like that. And my last position before I switched out and started, going into NFTs and just exploring other things. I was working at a federally qualified health center as a director of behavioral health. And I was working there integrating kind of like programs on like yoga. This is in West Oakland, and like drumming and things that were like culturally and like community based and relevant, and I wanted to do certain things that I wasn't able to because while being in leadership and being an executive, and having the staff of 150, you would think that you could develop your own programs, right? And then you could have the agency and the authority to do the things that you needed to do when you're like, managing millions of dollars of federal dollars. But you're working in a team, correct? And you're working in a team, which is a system, and so it was challenging for me to get done what I needed to do because as a woman of color, there's different impacts passes, you know, in terms of like leadership, and you get your hands tied. And so I felt like I couldn't really build the programs that I wanted to do, and that things were faltering, and I decided to go independent. You know, I decided to do a lot more private contracting and to do work internationally and abroad. And that made me extremely happy. You know, I was working in Nepal, which you can see behind me right now. I'm not here, you know, but like, you know, I was working a lot there with women who are sexually trafficked, you know, and just kind of like doing really significant and impactful work, you know, in rural villages and just like in communities that don't have access to mental health services, you know, who don't have access to kind of like community healing practices, you know. And so like that was, yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you, you know.
No, that's absolutely incredible. Yeah. So yeah, so that's a very decorative career right there. And your work with people. So now shifting over into diving into something that could be considered the complete opposite, diving into the crypto space and blockchain technology, and you know, you say that you're an artist, and normally that is always the transition, right? That's a theme on our show, where a lot of artists can find themselves using a blockchain technology, specifically NFTs, as a way to expand their brands, as a way to really gain more opportunities and more ownership over their work. So let us know what led you into that space.
Yeah. So here comes the pandemic, right? And it's kind of like everyone's stuck. I can't travel to Nepal anymore. I'm doing my work remotely. I'm training teams and developing curriculum from home. And I'm no longer satisfied. This is now a friend of mine is telling me November, December, hey, I think you should do NFTs. Right. You know, this is November, December of 2020, because during the pandemic, I go through my midlife crisis, and I'm like, I'm not doing psychology in the same way anymore. I want to do art. I start writing, you know, this is pre-pandemic, you know, I started to do all these NaNoWriMos, you know, I, you know, started to integrate art. I took a comic book class at the local bookstore here in the Heights. You know, shout out to Word Up Bookstore, you know,
shout out. We shout out all bookstores around here. We celebrate bookstores around here. Yes.
You already know, right? And so like they were really instrumental in kind of like having me come into a community of different artists, you know, and they were like, you know what? Because I was so resistant to like social media, because, you know, I was working in very like, you know, where I wanted to have a low profile, you know, working in corrections, you know, you're kind of like exposed. And so like I wanted to kind of like, you know, maintain my privacy. And they're like, I think you need an Instagram, you know? And I was like, all right, let's do this, you know. You get into Instagram, opportunities start to happen. You start getting into community, you know, and so like that was really wonderful for me.
The good parts of social media, the good parts,
you know. And so my Instagram right now, I started in August, and it's 1 year old. Like tomorrow, it's
wait, you just started?
Oh my God!
Wait a minute, and you have more followers than I do?
It's popping.
You gotta stop. This is the power of like this is the power really of Clubhouse.
I love it.
Clubhouse is I mean, I gained 1,500 followers in 3 months in Clubhouse.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. So I would love to discuss that. I want to discuss your because we kind of discussed that before we went live, the strategies that you and the tactics that you use to promote and build up and anticipate people to come into your rooms and whatnot, and just even expanding there how you do your drops, right? Your NFT drops. So before we get there, because I would love to talk about that, why don't you run us through what your experience was like making your first NFT and minting, and then even selling your first one. Walk us through that.
Okay.
Absolutely. And was it acrylic on canvas like you typically work?
Okay, yes. Run us through the whole thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'd love to speak about it. Thank you so much for asking. So the first NFT, so working in Nepal, right? Going back to the backdrop, I met a woman who was rebuilding homes for people who were affected by the monsoons. You know, I had trained her to kind of like do this work, and she had been doing that in a very small nonprofit. And I was like, bet, when I get into some money, like I'm going to get you, you know, we're going to rehouse and rebuild these homes. It takes 700 USD to rebuild one house. It's raining right now, you know? So I went into the space, and Lady Millard, who is a wonderful human being, and she does Under One Roof. And that is like a wonderful community and DAO that is helping to house people who are on the streets, basically, you know. And so that's something that's important to her. And, you know, we've done lots of different initiatives with different community members. But to make a long story short, going back to that, I met her and she decided to like onboard me. I had to come into like one of the rooms, you know, and I was like, I don't know how to do this NFT stuff. I want to animate, go from 2D to 3D. You know, I felt like I needed to do that at that time. You know, I felt like I still didn't know that there was a lot of possibility and opportunity in the space, that I didn't need to fit into the mold. But like, you know, this was March, you know, and so I was like, all right, how am I going to animate stuff? You know, like tell me how to do it. And then someone had made this, you know, that there's kind of like, you know, these things in the space about, you know, who has an art degree, who doesn't, who has a skill set, who's been working in the space, you know, who's new, just like all these different politics that are just normal in the art space community in general, you know, about like skill sets and all of that. And so someone had made a comment, you know, that that I guess that the filters that people were using were like cheap, and it came across and like it looked, you know, like substandard, you know, as in presentation, you know. And so Lady Millard kind of got offended, and she's like, not everybody has access to this technology, you know, and they're gonna still do artwork the way that they're gonna do it, you know. And so she came to my defense, and that's how I met her. Because she just really advocated for the fact that there's so many people who either don't have the opportunity to go into the arts because they weren't supported by their parents, you know, or because like they just didn't have the opportunity because they had to do other things in life, you know, whatever it was. And so that was really lovely. And so I met her and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do an NFT. And she's like, she helped me and she walked me through it. And so my first NFT is for Under One Roof, and it's listed on OpenSea for 4 ETH. And when it sells, it's going to house 20 families in Nepal to rebuild houses out there in the rural village. So that was my first NFT that I did with her in collaboration, you know. So like that was significant because for me in the space, I was like, yo, like I was like, we can really like use this money to really, because at that time it was like, wow, we can really shift, you know, the money and put it into the hands of the people who really need it. And if we know who are the people that need it, then let's do it, you know. And so that was like really fascinating to me. And it still is something that is very much a central focus, you know, of how I came into the space and how I still want to continue moving in terms of like community building and supporting, and like each one lift one and just kind of like supporting each other. So
that's powerful.
So that's powerful. Oh, thank you.
No, that's true. Yeah, that is truly powerful because, you know, we have conversations about the types of organizations and DAOs. And I would like to do a little quick sidebar before we go back into the conversation about what a DAO is for our viewers specifically. And I would like you to use Under One Roof as that example. But it's incredible the use cases of this, right? Doing humanitarian work through blockchain technology. It's like doing charity and building community building through these technologies and making it possible for people like me, like Ira, like anyone else who just scrolls through their phone and simply just sees something that says you can make a difference by simply clicking a few buttons, because that's how easy it is. You have a wallet, you can make a difference. And that is mind-blowing to me. You know, whereas a lot of other things, you know, you have to apply, sign up. You have to go through a lot of steps just to make a difference.
Red tape.
Petitions, red tape, and all this stuff, which is not bad. It's still important. But this concept of saying, hey, we already have everything set up through a decentralized, you know, autonomous organization that already has these contracts built into it. That's all technology based. No humans are running it. It's all technology that says, hey, we are secure. We are safe. This is what it means when you put your money into here. It's going directly to that. Everyone can see it. It is all public. It is all transparent. You have nothing to work. And just knowing that and having that, it makes people want to be a part of something, right? So that's
it's empowering in that way.
Absolutely. It puts a lot of power.
I'm gonna do a really quick plug if you want a great example of this. Bitcoin Beach. There's a Vice episode about this place in Ecuador. Have you heard of it, Dr. Lemny?
What is it?
Bitcoin Beach. So it's a particular place in Ecuador where a Bitcoin billionaire has simply invested in this particular community in Ecuador and is making transactions and living easier for the people. Everything is transacted through Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
So when people need to get paid for labor, Bitcoin goes directly into their wallet immediately. When they need to pay bills, they're easily done by using their phones. And so making these transactions easier and helping people to be able to actually use the technology to get what they need when they need it it just changes lives in that way. Just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. I think that's important, you know, to kind of like discuss about the ways in which like it's beneficial because El Salvador, just made it legal tender, a couple months ago, and we were all listening together in one of the clubhouse rooms, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna push it through, and it was just kind of like, it's like a transition of the world, and like anything, everything is double edged. I'm practicing Buddhist, so there's good and bad that comes with it, just like anything, but for the most part, it really feels really promising and an opportunity to switch the narratives about how we do business, how we do transactions, like transparency, the need for all these middle people who are taking all these fees, that aren't necessarily necessary, because now we're have direct access to those buyers and to those markets. So it's super dope what NFT has to offer. In addition to doing the one drop with Under One Roof, after that, it kind of gave me kind of like the motivation. Now I was like, all right, I did this together. Someone held my hand. Can I do this by myself? Can I put my own individual artwork, not, charity related, and see if this works? And I had hesitated for a really long time. I'd been in the space for like about 3 months, hadn't dropped any of my own personal NFTs. For me, everyone has a different pace, with which they kind of like go in. And I just kind of want to reinforce that to artists who are coming in, that if they need to take their time, take their time. If they feel like they're, if their method is impulsive or just spontaneous and quick, go with your energy force, like go with what works for you. There's no right or wrong, there's no black and white here. It's kind of like everything is really kind of malleable and just kind of like, I love that. Because I was like, for me, I needed time. I really needed to feel comfortable with the crypto. That was something that was unfamiliar to me. I'm not the most tech savvy person, so that was a learning curve. We're all coming in with kind of like different spaces that we need to kind of like buff up. But for the most part, what has been really just rewarding about this space is like how self-actualized everyone, not everyone, but like for the most part, there's a significant amount of people in this NFT space. I want to say like a 90% of people who are already coming with 10,000 hours of some type of discipline that's already been mastered, because it's kind of like the karma is the fruits of your labor right now are being rewarded, and so like, because it takes a certain level of like guts and gravitas, and like balls, to go into this space and be like, I don't know what's going on in here, but I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to try to be successful. Right.
It's the wild, wild west. Yeah.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
It is the wild, wild west.
Yeah. So what was that first drop? What was your first personal drop? And I hope you say what you're going to say, because I'm obsessed with this collection that you have going on, but I want you to say it first. If not, then we'll talk about it. But
what was the genesis?
What was that first drop? What was that first personal drop?
I'll talk about the genesis, the first baby, and then the collection that came right after, that gave me the impulse, right? Because the collection was just, that collection just really, it made me happy. The way that I kind of like came in and the way that it was delivered and executed, I couldn't have been more satisfied, so with the Genesis piece, it was Little Girl Joy. It was this piece that I had on Instagram that everyone liked. And I was like, oh, okay. It was like, folks are liking this piece. Let me go ahead and like put that out because it's getting attention, and I had a couple friends in the space and because, I go to all of the clubs. I'm a member of all the clubs. Like, it's really important to me to just be, to tap in and have this universal common type of space where we're all, just it's a family, it's a community where it's small, I'll come back to the drop, okay? Because I can kind of like go around in circles.
Go off.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
We're with you.
You with me. Thank you. I appreciate you, brother. So the drop is Little Girl Joy and Stonesies and a couple other folks in the NFT community. We were in Tayo Damn Shoes' room. She does the e-waves and she's so dope as an artist. And we were in there and Stonesies was like, yo, Lem, what's up with your day? When are you gonna just put 1 or 2 out? And I was like super hesitant. I was nervous. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna, and I was like, you know what? At night, one of my friends, Lady Millard, she was like, girl, listen, this is a wave and you need to get on it and it's gonna go, and just like anything, everything's on a cycle, and things will come and go always in life, but you want to jump on this before and strike, the iron while it's hot. And so I minted it, went to sleep. The next morning it was sold. I didn't even announce it. I didn't say anything. I just put it on the blockchain. So like, I was like, yay, I felt so satisfied, and not just that, but not just with the sale, satisfied with the fact that like I had taken on this enterprise of 3 months. And then finally, like anybody, when you mint your first baby, you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it out. And it's
That
like,
part. Yes.
what?
Yes.
It's such an achievement and accomplishment.
Yes.
You feel like you did something,
Right.
so I want to congratulate everybody for even doing one, just getting that through on that blockchain forever. That's your legacy. And so that's significant. That's important. Even if you just drop one and leave the space and never come back, you did something. So, because a lot of people do get discouraged, because sometimes like those things just sit there and they don't sell because it takes a lot of effort to push that forward. But in any event, the collection, if I may, so so the collection was called Art, Wealth, and like Art, Beauty, and Wealth. And so my desire was really to kind of like hone in and bring in this notion of wealth. For the past 20 years, I've been living my life kind of like I sit down with an astrologer who's a friend of mine, and I consult with him, and I kind of go through what my year is going to look like. So I had anticipated that this year, around April, was going to be like a moment like this. So I designed my drop to come out in June, and so like I followed, that path. I set my I wanted to put it on 3 different platforms. And I did my drop parties over the course of 3 different weeks to build up that momentum. I dropped 8, 8, and 8. I was on Foundation, Hicket Nunk, and like I mentioned, OpenSea. And you have your haute couture line, you get your ready to wear on Hicket Nunk, and so like it was really wonderful to kind of like access different communities, different art, different collectors, and really just push that out. And really try to have a universal feel of the space and reach out as many people, so that was my intention and my desire. It wasn't to have like these astronomical prices or anything like that. It was really to push the work out. That was more satisfying to me, and to make sure that it got into the hands of early collectors. And then for round 2 and moving forward, in terms of strategy, bringing up the floor, and just kind of like moving forward. So, those 3 parties, and, I sometimes I'll do rooms in Clubhouse about how to do a successful draw party, and that's really like important too, because the way that I think about it is like, I think about it as if we're just like in person, like an event planner. I was like, what's the arc? What's going to be the beginning, the middle, the end of your party? Like everything but the piñata. All right, that was like everything was a piñata, so like I had.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I feel like Clubhouse is probably going to do some virtual balloons at one point, man, because you can tip people now, so you never know.
Oh yeah. So, no, that's awesome. I love it. And before we wrap up, I need you to drop your Clubhouse rooms, what rooms you host and when. I don't know if it's a recurring thing that you do for the drop parties, the NFT drop parties, but I feel like I will tune in. So please drop that, and so that we can let our viewers know. So why don't we kind of, I just before we wrap up, I'm just really curious to just get as much value as we can for aspiring NFT artists or someone who wants to drop an NFT. Give us like a quick, what is your top advice to people who are your position just last March and who are hesitant, right? Or just kind of don't know, or, but are interested, right? In dropping an NFT. How would you tell them to go about, preparing for that?
Okay. I think that there's multiple ways of doing that. And I think that everyone has a different learning strategy and learning style. I think that if you have the awareness of what that is, then you can kind of like really tailor the learning process, and build a curriculum, that'll fit you. I think that there's multiple ways of kind of like accessing information in the space. One of them is definitely YouTube. You can go ahead and go on there and check out, how to establish a cold wallet, how to kind of like open up your Coinbase, or, if Coinbase is not available in your country or in your state, how to go about getting an alternative one. One of the things that I think is really important is listening, going into these rooms and just like really, it's wonderful to ask questions, but I feel like once you kind of like have an understanding of what you're hearing, then you can pose questions afterwards. So having patience with yourself, having some type of like tolerance and some type of stress management skills, because this thing is stressful. I think that that's one of the components that I feel is really important to kind of like incorporate, take time off. I think that one of the things that really happens in the beginning is that people can tend to get really obsessive, so a life, in real life balance and a clubhouse balance or a metaverse balance is super important. Go on your walks, go outside, spend time with your dogs, your families, your friends, if you have them, I think that that's important, and is also going to continue to like not just also sustain you, but give you more like fuel for your artwork. Follow your passion. Definitely don't go where the trends are. Yeah, that's part of it too. Incorporate that information, but don't let that be your end all be all. Definitely do your love. Because when you're like ecstatic about something, when you have a vision, when you have like an independent voice, that's what everybody wants to see, just like in the traditional artwork. So don't let go of that. Don't try to like fit into the mold. Keep moving in your lane. Like people want to see your originality and your love and your passion. So I would suggest that. I would also suggest reading the NFT Bible and following very instrumental people in the space. Like one of the people is really going to be helpful. If you don't have a Twitter, get a Twitter. And one of the people who's going to be really helpful for you with that, it will be NFT Tish. Tish is fantastic and wonderful. She will retweet your work. Yes. Trish is the bomb. If you don't know Trish, she's very important in the space. She's a photographer. She does NFTs as well. And she's just pretty much the fairy godmother of the space. Also, other people that you might want to follow who are really important, like Black Dave. Go into your Discords, go into the Telegrams, go into the back channels of Clubhouse, go into the WhatsApp, go into the rooms, go into those rooms as well. And if you can, pay attention to what's happening. Be very careful, with your tech. Make sure that you have all your security stuff in place. Get your VPNs, make sure that you have your hard wallets. That when you're logging in, you make sure that you log your wallet out from whatever sites you're on, just kind of like all these different things to kind of like be mindful of. But I think that's a lot, to kind of like start and begin with, and have your notebook, take your notes, they have some, they definitely have that strategy where like, okay, like I'm listening to this. For me, I was so overwhelmed. I was like, I couldn't even write notes, but I knew some people who had notebooks, I was like, look at, I was like, man, that's an NFT, boom. I was like, oh goodness. So
take a picture of it. Yeah, right.
I'm saying, so I hope that answers in a nutshell. I could go on, but I think that, essentially, I think that those are some kind of life hacks in the space. And just be really open and patient, because like, you're coming and you're meeting people from very different walks of life all over the world, and so like people are coming in from kind of like different experiences, but what holds us together really is like the love for the art and the love for the technology and the love for the decentralization and for the opportunity to really reify and make a new world, for ourselves. And so that's
one thing I've noticed. Like a majority of the community in this NFT space, both artists and collectors, it is just such an overwhelmingly positive space.
Yeah,
because everyone in that space understands what it's like to be like an artist, to be
suffer.
Yeah,
to suffer. Yeah,
if you want to get specific. Yeah,
as an artist.
Yeah, but
everyone, as of someone who started off as a freelance videographer, as a gig worker, as someone who was a rebel by nature and really didn't like structures, aka those corporate type gigs, and you kind of touched on that with the systems that you were kind of bound by, where you couldn't really do what you wanted to do because you knew that you were capable of making impact, and the differences that you've made when you did go on to make to do those private contracts, and it's awesome. And I see myself in a lot. I know Ira can pull up plenty of examples of those types of situations. So imagine that tenfold with all the other people that you communicate through these channels, through Discord. And I'm seeing a nice little pattern of places where it's important to be at for artists that want to do research. Like Clubhouse is huge, Discord is huge, Telegram, Twitter, especially Twitter, and not WhatsApp. All these channels definitely are super important to engage with people, and they're going to be open. That's the beauty about it. Don't be afraid. Don't think that this is that artsy fartsy like community where they're just snobs and like, oh no, like that's that's not crypto art. Like, no, it's nothing
and
like
that
that
does
at all.
exist, and that does also exist
no matter
heavily
what.
within the space as well. Yeah,
sure. And that's just gonna breed what it is. But I think that when you attach yourself to communities that you find, you know, a positive, you'll attract to them, they'll attract to you. So why don't we why don't we start wrapping up? It's about to be 9 o'clock. Dr. Lemny, thank you so much for your time. Please let us know where's the best places to find you, and especially
please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that plug. So I'm on Twitter Spaces, and I do oh my goodness, I do so many rooms. So on Twitter Spaces, I have a room on Wednesdays. Oh my goodness. And you know, you can come on to, definitely come on to my on my Twitter. I'm under Lemny, LEM_NY. And I have information there. On Twitter Spaces, we have Heart for Art room, and I also do every Sunday with my wonderful friend Lucas Bean. I have a mental health and art and crypto and marketing room for Twitter Spaces. In the clubhouse, yes, in the clubhouse room we have the room for spirituality, which is the karma room for the Dharma talks, and I'm really excited about that because we're really talking about, you know, those whole spiritual things that you're talking about, you know, about how like we all kind of karmically come together into this space and like help one another and become, you know, very helpful people to the world, you know, and so that comes in. And I think gosh, that's it in a nutshell. I think there's a couple more, but you can, you know, inbox me. My DMs are open. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on all the platforms, and I just really appreciate that time. You're both wonderful, and I really sincerely I can't wait, you know, for all the artists that you're going to be supporting and helping, and just like seeing the space grow with you in it is such a blessing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for that energy. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. We are absolutely going to be keeping in touch. We're going to be supporting you. We're going to be jumping into those rooms and telling everybody that we know to jump into those rooms. We can't wait to see what you do next. We can't wait to see all the changes that you're going to bring about, and we can't wait to report on it. We can't wait to tell the whole world about it too. So that's what's going to be exciting for us, guys. Ira, do you want to do the drop for the website? Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, man. I just want everybody to know that right now we are live. We've been sharing it this morning with Twitter, and we tagged you, Dr. Lemny. We've been sharing it this morning with Facebook, and we're tagging everybody. And also, if you go to NFTcreativetraders.com, you will find all of our shows. It's also Black Tech Futures Media on YouTube, and you'll find this show as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm appreciative that Dr. Lemny Perez was able to be here with us today. People, check out her art and also buy it. Also on what is it, OpenSea? I think you've got a piece dropping on OpenSea, but you've already got stuff on OpenSea. I mean, there's Foundation. You're pretty much everywhere. Thank you again. And thank you, everybody. This is Black Tech Futures Media Weekly Chat. We are out. Peace. See you next week with episode 25 and surprises.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Take care, everybody.
Dr. Lemny, have a great one.